Welcome to the Extraordinary Podcast, where we identify God's uncommon work in common life. Recognizing God's work requires intentionality, but articulating it motivates and inspires. Don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. In today's episode, I have a conversation with Delanee about kind of her experience with college and student teaching, but it really comes down to relationships. She talks about the importance of relationships wherever she is and how that influences her both as a person, as a teacher, and as a follower of Jesus. So let's get into the conversation with Delanee. Delanee, thank you for taking time to be on the podcast today to share a little bit about your story. Now, you are currently student teaching, which means that's like the last educational requirement to complete your degree. So you're attending Evangel University. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience there, some of the things you really enjoyed about college?
Yeah, so I love Evangel. Evangel will always have a big part of my heart after the time I've spent here. And one of the biggest things I've enjoyed is just the relationships I've made when you're, 5.5 hours away from home. The friends that you make aren't just your friends, they're an attachment of your family. And I feel like I really have gone through a lot with some of my closest friends. One of my best friends is literally someone I met my first day here at band camp, and we're still best friends. And then two of my other best friends, I was roommates with one of them, and the other one we've just been really close. So we've been through a lot together, and it's impactful, because when you're that far away, obviously your family and your friends at home are there for you, but it's just not the same as having that close proximity that you have with the people here, the people that you do life every day with. So that's been really powerful, and just the community in general at Evangel is really great, and that's been really awesome. And then I've also been on activities board, which has been really fun. So we plan all the events on campus at Evangel, and I've been doing that since the fall of 2020. So that's been really fun. And especially once I moved off campus when I got married, it was kind of helped me stay connected with the community at Evangel because I wasn't on campus as much. So that's been really powerful. And I feel like I had no idea. Like when I was a senior in high school and trying to figure out where I wanted to go to college, I was kind of uncertain in general. I was just like, I don't know exactly where to go. I don't know exactly what's going to come of all this. And I feel like I'm just so thankful that God led me to Evangel, because all the experiences I've had have just changed me so much, and it's brought me such this great new community and family and purpose for my life as well have come to me through going to Evangel, and I definitely don't think that was an accident. So I'm so thankful that God led me there.
Well, that's awesome. The sense of community that is established there, and that you were able to get involved with and build those relationships. But as I mentioned, you are currently student teaching and high school science.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about some things that may have surprised you about student teaching?
Yeah, so student teaching is honestly kind of a roller coaster. It's great, it's fun. When you're on a roller coaster, you're enjoying it the whole time, but it's kind of crazy as well. Everything's new. At this point in my educational career, I've had multiple practicums, but it's just it doesn't even close to compare to being in there in the thick of it every single day. So it's definitely just kind of total culture shock, partially because the school I'm in is the biggest public high school in Springfield. We have 2,000 students in the school, so it's insane compared to me going to my private Christian school for all of my school career. And then Evangel is, a Christian university as well, but smaller. So that was just a total culture shock in a way. And then our schedule is also odd. That was kind of a shocking thing initially as well, just because we have a 4-block schedule, so we only have 4 classes a day, and each one's an hour and a half. And we change classes at semester, so we only see the students for the semester. So that's kind of an interesting thing I wasn't expecting. And then I would say just also with the relationships, I feel like I had no idea how quickly I would come to care so deeply for my students. Even the ones that I don't have the closest relationship with still, I just feel like even after only not even 4 weeks of class, I just feel so like invested in them and their learning, and I feel like I care for them so much, even though it's only been 4 weeks, and it's just gone so fast already. Like we've already been doing school for a month, and it feels like it's been like a week. So it's crazy, and it honestly is just. I was nervous starting out, obviously, because it was totally new, but like every day I really am just like seeing that dream I've had of teaching. Like I wanted to be a teacher since I was a little kid, and during high school I kind of like thought I was going to go a different direction. And then once I got to college, I was like, nope, I'm right back at that original dream that I didn't really have any idea at the time where it was going to go. And it's just so cool how like God brought it back to me, and he's just showing me so many new things. It's just so cool how it all came together. And yeah, I'm just loving it. Like I heard stories of people being like student teaching was so scary, or like it was overwhelming, and like I guess yeah, that is kind of true, but like it's amazing at the same time.
And part of it probably depends on the teachers you're working with as
That is
well.
very true. I have a great community of teachers at our school, and so that's been like for real a blessing that it would not have been the same without that.
Well, good. I'm glad you're having a good experience with that, and just really getting enmeshed. And as you said, there's a much different feel for being a student teacher than the practicum, where you can just go and observe. So you are actively doing it every day. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I still think we can say you are recently married. It's been over a year, but
Yeah.
besides Max, what do you love about marriage?
Yeah, well, definitely Max. That's a big one. Um, I think the thing that comes to mind with this is just before we got married, like I had heard people say that being married is like a never-ending like sleepover with your best friend, and I feel like that's so true. Like I feel like it's just so fun knowing that you're coming home to your best friend every day and you get to face all of life together. You know, like we've gone through ups and downs even just in the year and 3 months that we've been married, but it's just so like encouraging knowing that you're always going to have a partner to face it all with you. Through the good, you're going to have somebody that's going to celebrate everything with you, and through the bad, you're going to have somebody that's going to be right there and still supporting you and is going to understand like your situation in a way that like nobody else does. And that's just so cool. And even through like all the like hard things that we've experienced so far, it's helped us to grow closer to each other and depend on God and grow closer to God together as well. So it's just like such a different relationship than it is with anyone else. Like it's just you have that person that you know is going to be there with you all the time, and it's just such a cool like balance. And like whether you're doing like serious things, silly things, or just like everyday things, it's all just so exciting and fun because you're all doing everything together, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, that's fun, and having that mentality of a sleepover with your best friend
Yeah.
is great, and it shows how much in love you guys are. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Do you guys have any dreams or plans? I mean, I know you're going to be done student teaching here in December, and then you're done with school, correct?
Yep.
Um, what do you guys hope to do after that?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to going into full-time teaching. I want to teach high school, high school science. That's my goal. And we do want to stay here in Springfield for a while. We love Iowa, but we've also fallen in love with the community here too. So we want to stay here at least for a couple of years. And Max is doing a lot of new things with his art. He's working on some new big projects they're going to be rolling out soon. So we're really excited about that. And we're just, chugging along, pursuing our dreams, I guess, following what we've wanted to do and watching some things we always wanted to do kind of happen and come true finally. So that's really cool. And I've also been working on baking stuff, my baking business, working on that some more and different things like that. So,
Well,
yeah.
it sounds like you guys are pursuing your passions,
Yeah.
which is awesome, and really what anybody should be doing, regardless of your age.
Yeah.
The older we get, the more we say it's the young people that should follow their passions, but anybody should.
Yeah.
Now,
That's true.
now, now, you kind of changed directions a little bit on me because one of the questions I have is every time I've talked to you, your love for your hometown and your home area is something that I think just kind of just naturally comes from you.
Yeah.
But you've fallen in love with Springfield.
Yeah,
Is
that's true. Yeah.
Let's. What do you love so much about your home area, and why have you fallen in love with Springfield?
Well, I mean, I feel like one of the biggest ties to home is just the people. I'm such a like relational person. I mean, as you could probably tell with me talking to my friends from Evangel as well. Like, I just love my family. I'm so close to them. My parents and my sister and my grandma especially were all like really, really tight and close. So that's like the big drawback to home, you know. Like that's the thing that makes it hardest to even be gone sometimes. But I also just like the church family, my school family, all my other like friends there are huge as well. And then just like the memories, I feel like all the great experiences I've had at home, and it really just is a home. Like Springfield's a home, but Iowa is also a home to me. Like I can have multiple homes. That was so hard for me to like come to terms with when I first like started falling in love with Springfield. I was like, wait, what is going on? Like, but I can have two homes, and that's really cool to me. And it's just whenever I come home, like whenever I go back to Iowa, it's just such like a welcoming and safe place to me to come back and just interact with those people and think about like real not really relive, but like think about all those memories and also make new memories as well. So I do have like, you know, strong connections, and I feel like I'll come back often even though we will stay here for a while. But here, you know, that new community and family is also a big tie. You know, I have friends here. Some of my friends after college will move away back to their homes or back to other places, but I do have some friends, especially with like our church here, or just I have a couple friends who have graduated but are staying here. So I do have like that community here as well. And that's just really cool. And it is just compared to, I don't want to like compare because I love both, but like where we're from in Iowa is like kind of small town, and there's not like as much to do, which like, you know, you're going to find fun stuff to do even in a small town, because we did, and that was, you know, my entire like young life. But it is kind of nice just having like more available opportunities here and more things that you can pursue in like a bigger city, but it does still have like a small city feel in some ways. Like it's not like you're in like New York or Chicago or something like that. Like there is still like the small town feel. And like specifically in my career field, it is nice how many schools there are here. Like the school districts here are really nice. And so that's kind of a draw as well. You know, like a lot of things to think about, but those are kind of some of the main key points.
Well, I think a lot of people, sometimes it's just about perspective. If you want to look for the bad or find the negative, you're going to be able to find that. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look for the positive, the good things, the activities, and particularly if you focus on connecting with people and relational side of things, you're going to find great places to live almost most anywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
true.
well, that's great. I'm glad you have fallen in love with Springfield. Really, about the only thing I know about Springfield is that has a huge Bass Pro Shop, and I'm not even really a fisherman. But
Yep. Yeah, I'm not
so
a fisherman or anything either, but I love the Bass Pro. We just go there for fun sometimes.
now you're someone that has kind of a positive outlook on life. Like you kind of incline more towards the optimistic side of things. Is that something that's always been? Is it something you've learned, or kind of unpack that for us a little bit?
I would say it has been a journey over time coming to terms with that kind of mindset. Like, I would say there have been times in my life when I've struggled with it, and I don't think I've necessarily always been that way. I think that was a process of God teaching me, like, if you're focusing on the negative things, you're gonna see the negative things, and if you're focusing on the positive things, that's what you're gonna see. Like, mindset will literally change your life. Like, you cannot overstate how important your mindset is. And I also feel like part of the reason that I was negative, had more of a negative mindset originally, and why a lot of people do, is because it's kind of like a crutch, I would say. Like feeling like you have a set mindset and that things can't change makes it to where you don't have to take the responsibility to take control of your mind, like your attitude and your life. And I feel like that is sometimes easier, I would say. Like I feel like sometimes it is easier to be negative and to just be like, well, I can't change the way the world is, and I'm just gonna focus on the negative things because I can. And it is easier that way, because being positive isn't easy. It's difficult because you really are taking like the ball into your own court on what you're going to focus on, and that if you're going to focus on God and focus on the good things that He's placed in your path, then that'll make a huge impact on your life. But it's definitely not easy. I mean, like, I feel like we all have days when we're just like so frustrated or so exhausted or just everything has gone wrong. But it really is cool how we have the choice. Like, there's no point when we have to just say, I'm done, this is terrible. Like, you always have the choice. And I think that's really cool I think that's cool.
And I think a testament to kind of your outlook is we're recording later than we intended to. That you had some unexpected obstacles arise late in the day, and nobody would know that. But because we can choose to focus on the negative, or we can say, it is what it is. How can we make the best of our situation?
Exactly.
And so I think that just provides a real context for what you're saying. And they're not just words. They
Yep.
actually, you live by that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. But
Yeah.
and we're not perfect. And I'm not trying to say
Right.
that you can always just act like everything's good, nor is it healthy. But
Yeah.
sometimes we do allow the negative to creep out more than we probably should.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you were connected to your church there in Springfield,
Hmm.
and as someone who you grew up in the church and you continue to stay connected to the church, that's not always the case. It's more and more common for kids and teens to drift away at some point. And I'm sure you know many people that would fall into that category. But as someone who stayed connected to the church, is there anything you'd like the older generation to know about your experience? And when I say older generation, I'm not talking about the 80-year-olds, that's included, but just the 30, 40, 50-year-olds about your experience and maybe what kept you connected.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of it is just the people you surround yourself with. I think that does have a big impact on your life, because like all of my closest, like most like deepest friendships are all the people who also love the Lord and are pursuing the Lord. And some of my closest friends, we all actually even go to church together, so we all go to the same like small group together. Like, I feel like that's more powerful than you think. Like, we're all out in the world and we're all in contexts where we're not going to be around other Christians all the time. And that's a good thing because we want to be a witness to other people. But I think it's really important, like, those close friends that you have are like the closest people to you need to be the ones that are going to fill you and support you and guide you in the right direction. And so I feel like that's been like a big part of the reason, and just the experiences I've had, that like the ways that God has done, like all the works that He's done, all the things that I've seen Him do would make it to where I would never leave like the faith. But like staying in church especially is like a lot easier to do when you have other people beside you doing it. Because I know, like, some days you just don't want to get up. That applies to everything as well, but especially on Sundays, you're like, it's the weekend. Some days I just don't want to get up and go. But, like, knowing that, like, you're going to be doing it with other people as well, I feel like that's impactful. And then for what to say to, like, the older generation, when I was thinking about this, the main thing that came to my mind was just thinking about, I don't know if it's really happened as much with me, but, like, with talking to my other, like, my college friends, we kind of talked about how sometimes, especially the people at home, like when you leave to go to college and then you come back, I feel like people don't always expect you to have changed. And I feel like change is a healthy thing. Like, I feel like sometimes when you think about like someone has changed and like they're doing something, like, I never would imagine them doing that. Like, that doesn't always seem like a good thing. But I just think it's cool to think about, like, change is a healthy thing. And if you're growing and getting closer to the Lord, you're also growing as a person. So you're going to change. So if people are like not recognizing you, like, they should still recognize you, because like like the person you are is not going to change. But if you're doing things that you never thought you would do and experiencing things you never thought you'd experience, and if you're looking back at yourself a few years ago and you're like, it's crazy how much I've grown and how much I've changed, that I feel like that's a good thing. And sometimes that's hard, like, especially if it's someone you're close to and they leave for a while and they come back and you're like, whoa, they're totally different. Like, that's not always easy to face. And so I feel like at the age that me and like my peers are at, we're going through a lot of change because we're in a transitionary period. Like we're either in college, which is a transition itself, or finishing college and getting ready to go into like our careers. So it's kind of natural for us to have a lot of change. But I also feel like that should be for everyone. Like everyone should have the mentality of like not being stagnant in like their faith and just in their life. Like just never let yourself never like always focus on growing yourself and not just being settled in what you're doing. I don't know if that made sense, but I just felt like that kind of came to me that that's relevant for everyone, whether you're younger, older, in the middle, wherever. That's just a relevant application.
I think you make a lot of sense there, and particularly you talked about your life setting of you're figuring out who you are, you're figuring out what life is going to look like, and the church needs to make sure that they give grace to that. That the church comes alongside and said, "Hey, we see this is where you are, and we're here for you, however we can," and in a very supportive way. But I do like your challenge that no one's too old to change,
Yeah,
to continue to grow, because Jesus is never done with us. We never
right.
get to a point spiritually where Jesus is like, you know what, that's all I got for you. Just hang tight until I come back. All right.
Yeah.
That's so that was a good challenge. I think that was great. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But is there any way that you want to challenge the church to be better? Anything the church can do better, whether it's for you or maybe talking with your friends?
I would say in general, um, just I feel like there are things with all of us being so like immersed in the culture. I feel like there are so many things going on. Like we're living in this world and we're surrounded by the world's plans and expectations and standards. And even though that's not what we're living by, we're still very much surrounded by it. And so I feel like it's a struggle that sometimes we kind of just say like, oh no, I'm not of the world, so I'm just going to ignore all of that. And I feel like that's almost impossible to do. So by trying to avoid like thinking about all the things that the world is doing is honestly doing us a disservice, because then when we do have to encounter it, we're not prepared. So I feel like it would be a benefit for all of us to just, not that the church should give us the answers to all of the controversy and things that are going on, because I feel like most of that stuff doesn't have one solid answer anyway, but I do feel like we should talk about those things that are more like hot topics in our culture, because like as Christians we're meant to have a sphere of influence, and if we haven't thought about those things, aren't prepared to talk about those things, then we can't have an influence on those things either. Like you can't just be in that sphere and have no idea what you're even doing, like again, we're still like following God's plans and God's standards is what we are called to do. But when you're in that sphere of existence, I guess, you need to have like a knowledge of what's going on. And I feel like some of that stuff, it's easy for the church to just kind of, this is a difficult topic, so we're just going to ignore it because it's not exactly our problem. But then it kind of is in the long run for us to be prepared to face whatever God is calling us to face. And I definitely don't think that God calls us to just stay in the Christian bubble, because that's, he calls us to go to all the world, not just the world that's already been saved. So that's just me.
That was good. And so I think, I mean, there are so many social issues in our world today and political issues, and it's crazy with how many issues we seem to be facing. So I think what you're saying is there are certain areas where the church proclaims truth, like this is what it is, and the church needs to do that. I think you're saying that, but also needs to inform us of how do we interact with the world in a way that we stand for truth, but don't just push people off because we're condemning them, right? So we need
Exactly.
to be able to interact, and so that was great. Thank you for sharing. That's a challenging word for me as a pastor, and I hope that those who are listening are challenged as well. That it's about learning how to navigate the world that we live in, and that's not unique to any generation. But because of the amount of issues that we're aware of in the world now, I think it's becoming increasingly important to make sure that, as you said, we don't ignore them. So thank you for that challenge.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you'd like to share? I'd like to end with an open-ended question in case we missed something or something that you didn't think we covered. Is there anything else you'd like to share today?
I feel like that mainly covered it all. I mean, I feel like that was pretty good. Kind of worked out.
Well, good. Well, we appreciate you being here today and sharing and just taking time. I enjoyed that conversation. I know others will enjoy it as well. So thank you for being here today, Delaney.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Thank you for joining us for this podcast. Be on the lookout for how God does uncommon work in common life. And please subscribe to never miss an episode.